Making headlines this hour, President appeals to all Maldivians to be vigilant of those who seek to weaken the Islamic faith and promote other religions in the Maldives. Housing Minister Dr. Mohammad Muiz says many of the government's pledged infrastructure development projects were completed during 2016. And 2 bombs exploded at a busy market in central Baghdad, killing at least 25 people and wounding more than 50 others. Good evening and welcome to Nightly News on Television Maldives with me, Fatma Sara. President Abdulyamin Abdulqayyum appeals to all Maldivians to be vigilant of those who would seek to weaken the Islamic faith and promote other religions in the Maldives. The President made the remarks in his address to the nation on the occasion of the day Maldives embraced Islam.
In his address, President Yamin emphasized that since Maldives is an Islamic nation and Maldives are firm in their belief and faith in Islam, it is regrettable that external interests seek to exert influence over this matter. He said it is not acceptable for nations to look down on the Maldives for not having religious freedom. The President firmly stated that, despite the external pressures, his administration would uphold the resolve of Maldives to not allow the practice of faith other than Islam in the Maldives. He noted that the key of the nation's independence depended on the knowledge and guidance inherent in our faith. The President said any Islamic society would prioritize social harmony over personal gain and that the only way to preserve social peace was by protecting individual rights. Furthermore, President Yamin stated that since Maldivians follow the same Islamic faith and are of the same culture, every citizen should work to reinforce the bonds of family and faith. In his address to the nation, President Yamin also extended greetings and well wishes to all Maldivians on the auspicious occasion of the day Maldives embraced Islam.
The Maldives marks the 863rd anniversary of the day it embraced Islam. Historical writings show that Maldivians denounced Buddhism and accepted Islam as their religion in the month of Rabiul Akhir 548 AH. It is officially believed that the person who invited Maldivians to accept the religion of Islam was Abul Barakat al-Barbari from Morocco. Islam is the only religion in the Republic of Maldives since the acceptance in the year 548 AH. People respected and firmly believed in the religion of Islam since then. The day Maldives embraced Islam was first celebrated in the early rule of Sultan Muhammad Farid I. It was due to a declaration made by the cabinet that the day was first celebrated on the 2nd of Rabiul Akhir 1374 AH or the 28th of November 1954. After a 33-year hiatus, the government decided to commemorate the day to promote religious unity among the people. The decision was made at a cabinet meeting held on the 29th of Muharram 1421 AH or the 4th of May 2000. The responsibility of commemorating the day Maldives embraced Islam was assigned to the Ministry of Home Affairs. Several activities are organized on the 2nd of Rabiul Akhir each year in commemoration. The day Maldives embraced Islam is commemorated on the 2nd of Rabiul Akhir each year. Ibrahim Nasir International Airport is set to be renamed to Welana International Airport at midnight tonight. The rebranding and name change of the airport was announced by the President on Monday. The President announced the decision after a cabinet meeting focusing on the transformation of the airport in line with the administration's economic vision. First developed pursuant to a declaration on 1st May 1964, the establishment of an airport proved significant in developing and cementing several key foreign relations while also enhancing the country's economy. With the active involvement of a large number of public, the then Prime Minister Sumuvul Amir Ibrahim Nasir Ranabindirkelege Fund played a critical role in realizing the airport. While the recent leasing of the airport had come at great economic cost to the Maldives, the impending downturn has been avoided with legal matters concluded and the control of the nation's gateway back in line with larger national interests. The enhancing and expansion of the airport and its facilities in line with President Yamin's vision is set to reinvigorate the nation's economy, similar in significance to the economic transformation brought about by the initial development of 1964. Upon completion, the tourism sector will see significant growth, while at the same time the airport would work towards becoming a major hub for distance travel. With the rebranding, the airport is to be referred to as Velana International Airport. While concise, Velana is also a reference to former Prime Minister Sumuvul Amir Ibrahim Nasir Vernabadir Kalegifan. Housing Minister Dr. Mohammed Muiz says many of the government's pledged infrastructure development projects were completed during 2016. He made the remarks at a press conference held to brief the media on the status of important projects across the country. The government is currently carrying out over 500 major development projects in various parts of the country, and most of them are infrastructure development projects. Briefing the media about the projects, Housing Minister Dr. Mohammed Muiz said President Abdul Yamin Abdul Qayyum has been successful in delivering most of the development pledges in his manifesto. He described 2016 as a successful year in terms of projects and development programs, adding that numerous development projects were initiated and completed during the year. The minister said that a large number of land reclamation, harbour development and road development projects were completed in 2016 compared with the previous 2 years. He also highlighted that housing and road redevelopment projects were initiated this year to ease congestion in the capital Mali city. At the news conference, the Housing Minister expressed confidence that the government would bring more economic and social development in 2017. He said a number of ongoing development projects will be wrapped up next year. Some of the projects overseen by the Housing Ministry during 2016 included the development of Rasfanu Artificial Beach on the western side of Mali City, Mali Industrial Village, road development project in Haddumati Atoll, and the land reclamation project in Thinadu of Kaftal Atoll. Travel booking portal Skyscanner says the Maldives saw a huge number of Indian tourists, including several celebrities in 2016, and 27 promises to be even bigger for the country. The booking portal and app even curates content based on its research and according to its recent findings. They crunched data for the past 3 years and came up with destinations that Indian travelers are most likely to explore in 2017. According to Skyscanner, the Maldives is a perfect escape for couples and families who want to relax in a villa overlooking the Indian Ocean or indulge in water sports like snorkeling, sailing and many more activities. Other destinations listed by Skyscanner include Singapore, Australia, Malaysia and South Africa. The Hong Kong Stock Exchange finishes the last day of trading for 2016.
Hong Kong shares rose around 1% the final session of trading for 2016, but the main indexes ended the year near where they started after a volatile 12 months, punctuated by Britain's vote to leave the European Union and Donald Trump's triumph in the US presidential election. The Hang Seng benchmark index added 1.0% to 22,000.56 points, while the Hong Kong China Enterprises Index gained 0.9% to 9,394.87. The index was up to 2% on the week, leaving it roughly flat for 2016. The market suffered a brutal start to the year due to fears that the global economy might slip into recession. With investors seeking healthy dividends, a subsequent recovery gathered momentum until Britain's unexpected vote in June to leave the EU briefly upset markets. Once the Brexit shot faded, the market resumed its uptrend, only to finally run out of steam after Trump's surprise victory in November, which boosted the US dollar against its Hong Kong counterpart and the other Asian currencies. Trading will resume next Tuesday.
Looking at news from international arena, Two bombs exploded at a busy market in central Baghdad, killing at least 27 people and wounding more than 50 others. There was no immediate claim of responsibility for the attacks, but IS regularly targets civilians in the Iraqi capital. Police said the blast went off near a car spare parts shop in Sinaq during the morning rush hour. An Interior Ministry official told Reuters that one of them was triggered by a suicide bomber, the other was a planted device. IS has lost much of the northern and western territory it seized in 2014 and is now resisting an Iraqi offensive on the northern city of Mosul, their last major stronghold in the country. Russia urges the UN Security Council to give its blessing to a fragile ceasefire in Syria, the third truce this year, seeking to end the nearly 6 years of war in Syria.
The United Nations Security Council met behind closed doors for an hour to consider a proposed resolution endorsing the ceasefire that Russia and Turkey announced on Thursday. A vote is possible as early as Saturday, although Security Council members recommended changes to the draft and it will likely be revised. Ambassador Vitaly Turkin of Russia told reporters after the meeting.
I think those recommendations can be easily absorbed into the draft. So our intention is to make those additions to the text and then to put the text in blue and to go for a vote tomorrow morning.
It was not immediately clear if the resolution would win broad support. The text would be closely studied overnight, one Western diplomat said, speaking on condition of anonymity. Clashes, shelling and air raids in Western Syria marred the truce on Friday, shortly after it went into force at midnight, and violence appeared to escalate later on Friday. Russian President Vladimir Putin has said the parties were prepared to start peace talks intended to take place in Astana in Kazakhstan. Syrian state media said late on Thursday those talks would take place soon. Asked by a reporter whether the Astana talks would complete with talks that UN Syrian mediator Stefan de Mistura plans to convene in Geneva on February 8, Turkin said there was no conflict.
So we expect the United Nations to be fully involved in the preparations of the meeting in Astana, and if they are successful, they could move on to Geneva, as far as I am concerned. So we don't see any competition there or overlapping of the two processes.
Turkin told reporters early on Friday that the 7 rebel groups involved in talks so far represented 60,000 fighters and that others would be welcome.
Rescue operations are underway to find trapped workers from a caved-in coal mine in India's eastern Jharkhand province.
7 workers were killed while several others were buried when a pile of mine waste collapsed in the Lalmatia mines owned by Eastern Coalfields Limited, ECL, a subsidiary of Coal India Limited. Several vehicles working at the mine were also trapped in the accident. Authorities say dipping temperatures and fog were hampering rescue operations, but efforts were on to find the trapped miners. This sub-divisional police officer said several people are expected to be buried in the debris. He said currently rescue teams as well as the district administration, state government and national disaster response forces are working together to find the trapped workers. He added that it is a bit difficult due to the weather, but we are doing our level best. He further said that the senior government officials had also visited the site to review the situation. Meanwhile, workers at the mine claimed 11 bodies have been pulled out of the debris so far. Earlier in the day, Power and Coal Minister Piyush Goyal had announced ex gratia of around $7,300 to each family. Investigations into the cause of the collapse are underway. ECL accounted for about 9% of Coal India's total production of 50 million tons last month.
Expelled Russian diplomats and their families arrive at the Russian embassy in Washington due to the latest sanctions imposed on Moscow by the Obama administration. Washington earlier said it was expelling 35 suspected Russian spies and imposing sanctions on intelligence agencies it believes were involved in hacking during the 2016 US presidential election. Russia's foreign ministry said on Friday that a total of 96 Russians, including expelled diplomats and their families, were expected to leave the United States due to the latest sanctions on Moscow. President Vladimir Putin said Moscow would not expel anyone in response to Washington's decision to throw out the suspected spies and sanction intelligence agencies it believes were involved in computer hacking in 2016 presidential elections. But Putin said he would wait for the actions of President-elect Donald Trump, who will take office on January 20th before deciding on any further steps in relation with the United States. John McCain says Russia must be made to pay the price for cyber attacks on the United States and that it was possible to impose many sanctions, including on financial institutions. McCain, chairman of the Senate Armed Service Committee, has scheduled a hearing for Thursday on foreign cyber threats. McCain said in an interview with the Ukrainian TV channel 1+1 while on a visit to Kiev that when you attack a country, it's an act of war. McCain added that they have to make sure that there is a price to pay so that they can perhaps persuade the Russians to stop these kinds of attacks on very fundamentals of democracy. McCain had also met with Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko during his visit. President-elect Donald Trump praised Russian President Vladimir Putin on Friday for refraining from retaliation after the United States expelled 35 Russian diplomats. Nation Secretary General Ban Ki-moon says a goodbye to staff and permanent representatives at United Nations headquarters in New York today, saying that though he had delivered many speeches over his decade in office, he had but two important words for those gathered to wish him well.
United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon delivered his farewell speech on Friday to a crowd of UN officials, staff members and diplomats at the UN headquarters in New York City.
Now, I feel a bit like a Cinderella. Tomorrow at midnight, everything changes.
Ban then announced to the crowd that he will join the New Year celebration in the Times Square in New York City on Saturday. He will have the honor of publishing the button which begins the official 60 seconds countdown to the New Year, joining New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio. According to the event organizers, approximately 1 million revelers are expected to fill the fabulous square, joined by over 198 million Americans and more than 1 billion television viewers worldwide who will ring in the New Year watching the historic Times Square New Year's Eve ball drop. Ban also used this time to call on people worldwide to take actions in support of the Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs).
I will always be the child of United Nations, and my heart will always be with you and the United Nations.
As the 8th UN Secretary General, Ban's tenure started from January 1, 2007 and lasted until December 31, 2016, with his work being hailed as exemplary by his colleagues.
The leadership and the commitment and the courage of the outgoing Secretary General, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, has been exemplary.
It's definitely been a very important 10 years, and we look forward to next year when we have a new Secretary General and moving forward.
Portugal's Antonio Guterres will succeed Ban on January 1, 2017.
Pep Guardiola believes his Manchester City side have to match Liverpool's intensity at the Reds' Anfield Fortress if they are to avoid ending the year on a deflating note. The Spaniard has enjoyed mixed fortunes in his brief reign at the Etihad, a dazzling 10-match winning start and a brilliant Champions League win over Barcelona, having gone hand in hand with something unconvincing, absent-minded performances. Yet if he can end the year by derailing rampant Liverpool with a fourth consecutive league win and their first at Anfield for 13 years, it would offer a timely reminder of why Guardiola was always seen as the man to elevate City to a new plane. He He went to Anfield this week to watch his host's hugely impressive demolition of Stoke City and may have been forgiven a mild shadow of apprehension when recalling how his side had fallen apart at Leicester City earlier in the month. A familiar distracted performance against Liverpool at their swarming degenerating best could be potentially calamitous for the sideline just a point behind Jurgen Klopp's second-place team. And on a lighter note, celebrities including fashion designer Victoria Beckham, Vogue editor-in-chief Anna Wintour, actor Mark Rylance and the King's star Ray Davies are among those honoured in Queen Elizabeth's New Year's Honours list. Knighthoods for Andy Murray and Mo Farah, Jessica Annis-Hill and Catherine Granger became dames while Roger Bannister is Companion of Honour. Here's more on this. Olympic athlete Mo Farah, tennis star Andy Murray, actor Mark Rylance, comedian Ken Dodd and King's musician Ray Davies have been knighted in Queen Elizabeth's New Year's Honours list. Spice Girls and designer Victoria Beckham was awarded an OB, Officer of the Order of the British Empire, while other fashion notables included Anna Wintour, editor-in-chief of American Vogue, and accessories designer Anya Hindmarch. The biannual honours list is released on the Queen's official birthday in June and at the end of each year. It celebrates those who have made significant contribution to British life as well as providing public recognition for exceptional achievements or service. Many British sporting stars of the 2016 Rio Olympics and Paralympics were recognised, including damehoods for athlete Jessica Annis-Hill, who retired after the Games, and rover Catherine Granger, the first female Olympian to win 5 medals at 5 games. Sir Roger Bannister, the first man to run a mile in under 4 minutes in 1950, was made a Companion of Honour, one of the Queen's highest awards. A host of diplomats and ambassadors were also recognised for their exceptional services to Britain overseas. Not all the recipients were household names. 74% of people were recognised for carrying out outstanding works in their local communities, while just over half the recipients were women. The Queen honoured 1,197 people in total. Well, that's it for tonight. Stay tuned for more updates of recent current affairs stories here on Television Maldives. Thank you for joining us. Wish you a pleasant evening. Good night.